Hey guys, welcome to Soulstream. Today we are checking out the third and last pedal that was kindly sent to me by the good folks at Sonicake. We are looking at the Blue Skreamer. Let's go. Hopefully some of you guys would have seen the previous two reviews I did on the Sonic Bar Rock Stage and the Bit Crusher from Sonicake, and this is the third pedal. So this one is a slightly more traditional pedal. We have essentially what is an overdrive pedal. But as usual with our Sonicake folks, they have a little surprise for us. This is actually two pedals in one. So we have two specific controls on this pedal, which makes it very interesting. As usual in my videos, we will have a quick look at the construction of the pedal. Then we will plug in our guitar and run through some of the sounds that we've got and then draw our final conclusions. So let's start by looking at the construction. As you can see, the pedal is one of the mini series pedals. It is a true bypass pedal as usual, just worth mentioning that from the start. Like most of the Sonicake mini pedal series that I've seen, they're all true bypass, which is essential for us guitarists. Let's keep saying that. It's very compact, it has a good weight to it, so you can feel confident in bringing it out on the road or in the studio. Looking at the actual pedal, very simple design-wise. They actually managed to fit quite a few features in it. So we have 4 controls in total, 3 knobs and 1 switch. So if we start from the left hand side, we have a level knob, which is essentially a volume. Then the coolest feature is that we have a switch that goes up and down, and this selects 2 different voices of overdrives. Now, just a little side note, I've heard a lot of people and other YouTube videos defining them as one being a Dumble style overdrive and the other being tube Skreamer. I don't really know. I don't particularly care. I just think that it's nice to have 2 different voices to it. The actual voices are called, in the upright position, it's loud. In the down position, it's warm. So I don't actually know if they're specifically referencing any pedals, but I don't think we care because all we need is our ears, and let's hear it later on. Then moving on the right hand side, you have a tone, which essentially goes from a darker to a brighter sound, scooping out some of the mids on the dark, etc. And then the big white knob,
wow,
is the distortion level. So again, very nice construction wise. They put the main dial in the middle, and that's the one in a different color. So obviously it's nice that you can see it if you're in a darker environment. So again, very nice thought there. All the dials feel very nice to touch. Finally, you have the nice and solid on-off switch here. So the inputs, very simple, in and out, done. Nothing really to worry about. Just before we move on to the sounds, as usual with my videos, I'm going straight through to my Blackstar HT5 amp, then into the torpedo capture and loading some IRs in my DAW. So let's get to it. Why do I always lose my pick? Ugh. There it is, got it. Don't panic, people, I've got it. And by the way, if someone can invent a pick that just sticks to you, that'd be a good idea. So this is my clean sound. Just slightly edge of breakup there. If we start putting everything at 12 o'clock on the loud setting and the drive down, let's see what happens. Let's go. It's a very warm sound. So essentially what happens is it warms the sound. And this is a Strat style guitar. Okay, granted it has a humbucker in the bridge, but it's still Strat style guitar. And if I turn it off, you can tell. This is on. Okay, so very warm, very nice, warm sounding. Okay, let's move on to the second setting on the switch, which is strangely enough labeled as warm. So I'm not sure, does it get even warmer than before? I hope not, but let's turn that on. Let's turn that on and see what happens. Okay, so a couple initial observations here. So there is definitely a volume difference between the loud and the warm. So if we just do this. Hopefully you can hear that. So there's definitely a volume jump between the two, but also the warm setting, which I'm in now, so the second position, is really not warm. So that's a bit odd, but interesting, very interesting. Let's see how much gain it's got. So on the single coil setting, it does get a little noisy when you put up the volume and the tone. So the tone probably sounds nicest. Drive-wise, I actually find that around 12 o'clock, or maybe just shy of that, it sounds really good. Okay guys, so we've heard what it sounds like, we went through some of its settings, and let's start by saying that I really think that this pedal is made for blues rock guitarists. It doesn't have a great amount of drive on tap. I would highly recommend not to go overboard with the drive, simply because it does get very muddy when you go past, say, 2 o'clock on the drive. So I think it really shines from 12 o'clock downwards as a pure boost pedal, as a mild overdrive. I think that's where the strength of this guitar is. So generally it would apply to a blues guitarist or a rock guitarist that wants that little push. Even going through a slightly distorted or clean amp, I think it sounded very good. That's where the strength of this pedal is. In a similar way, I wouldn't go overboard with the tone. I thought that it brought in a lot of noise. I thought that it brought in a lot of noise, especially on single coils, which is normal, it's to be expected, but I would definitely recommend, again, around the 12 o'clock position. One of the main problems, if you want to call it that way, that this pedal has is that you've got two different voices of overdrive. So a very warm one, which is strangely enough called loud, and a more cutting one, which is called warm. I would just ignore what they've named it, because listening to it, they do have two very different characteristics. And quite frankly, I don't like any of the two better than each other. They're just very different. But one of the complexities of having two different voices, so essentially two different overdrives in such a small pedal, is that you will get a volume jump from one to the other. So that's where the volume comes in very handy. Now, I've heard a lot of criticism about people saying, oh, it's not great to have such a volume difference between the two. But quite frankly, I don't know. In a gig scenario, are you going to jump between the two that often? I personally wouldn't. I think you're essentially going to select one of the two, and that's going to be your favorite sound and dial that in. Overall, I think the bit that I haven't mentioned is that this thing costs 25 bucks. So I really don't think you can complain here. You really get two pedals in one because they're two different style overdrives. I don't know whether some people call it one a Dumble style and the other one a tube screamer. I don't know, whatever you want to call them. I don't really care. I think as a mild overdrive for that amount of money, why not have two pedals? Why would you choose a pedal with a single sound like that? I think this is great. I think it's great that the Sonicake people managed to fit that in such a small enclosure. I think it gives you a nice versatility. So I would definitely recommend this as a purchase. I think the loud setting, which is the warmer one, is very warm. So you just need to bear in mind that if you have a dark guitar, it may be a bit too muddy. But then in that case, you go with the other setting. So I think there's something for everyone here. There's something for all your guitars if you have different instruments. And also if you're looking for a first overdrive pedal just to push your amp a little bit, I think this is a very solid choice. So I would recommend looking into it. I think you really can't go wrong. It's 25 bucks. I think it's a solid choice. So go check it out. I'll link it down in the description. You can get it on Amazon or Sonicake website, but I'll put everything in the description. And as usual, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I will catch you guys later. Be good and rock on.